Right now, somewhere on the planet, over 1 billion people are turning toward the exact same point on Earth. Not a country, not a city skyline, a single building the size of a big house sitting in a desert valley. They do this 5 times a day, every day, for their entire lives. You've probably seen it. Maybe in a movie, maybe in a photo, maybe standing next to someone praying at an airport gate. And your first thought was probably simple. They're facing Mecca because that's where their holy site is. Case closed, right? But the real answer is far stranger than that. Because this isn't just a religious rule. It's one of the largest coordinated human behaviors on Earth. And the reason behind it touches geometry, psychology, and something scientists call collective orientation. Something your own brain does too, just not on purpose. Let's start with the moment it began.
In the year 610, in a cave outside Mecca, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, received what he described as the first verses of the Quran. For over a decade after that, Muslims prayed facing a different direction entirely, Jerusalem, toward the site now known as Al-Aqsa. Then, in the year 624, something shifted. The direction of prayer, called the Qibla, was changed, from Jerusalem to Mecca. Specifically to a cube-shaped structure called the Kaaba, believed to have been built by the prophet Abraham and his son Ishmael as the first house of worship dedicated to one God.
Why does that matter? Because this single decision created something almost no other religion has attempted at this scale. A literal, physical, geometric anchor point for over 1 billion people, updated in real time, 5 times a day, everywhere on Earth. Think about what that actually requires.
If you're praying in Jakarta, Mecca is roughly southwest of you. If you're praying in Detroit, it's northeast. If you're praying in Cape Town, it's almost due north. The direction isn't the same anywhere. It has to be calculated. And for over 1,000 years, Muslims did this without satellites, without GPS, without a single digital tool. So how did they do it?
This is where it gets genuinely fascinating. Islamic scholars in the 8th and 9th centuries developed some of the most advanced spherical trigonometry in human history, specifically to solve this one problem, finding the shortest path across a curved Earth toward a single fixed point. Astronomers like al-battani and al-biruni built instruments, tables, and mathematical models dedicated almost entirely to Qibla calculation. Al-Biruni, in the 11th century, even attempted to calculate the distance and direction to Mecca from cities he had never visited, using nothing but recorded latitudes, longitudes, and geometry. He was essentially solving a problem that modern mapping software now handles in half a second.
Here's the detail most people miss. This wasn't just religious devotion. It was one of the driving forces behind the growth of Islamic mathematics and astronomy for centuries. Trying to answer one question, which way is Mecca from here, quietly helped build the foundation for algebra, geography, and observational astronomy across the Islamic world. Now, here's where your own brain enters the picture.
Humans are naturally oriented creatures. You don't just move through space randomly. Cognitive scientists studying spatial memory, including research building on the work of neuroscientists like John O'Keefe, who discovered how the brain builds internal maps using what are called place cells, have shown that your brain is constantly tracking your position relative to fixed reference points. Home, work, north, the sun. You do this automatically, without noticing. It's how you can walk into a dark room and still know roughly where the door is. What Muslim prayer does is take that automatic human tendency and give it a single shared destination. Instead of 5 billion individual mental maps pointing 5 billion different directions, you get one coordinated orientation. Every mosque on Earth is architecturally built around it. Walk into any mosque, anywhere, from Istanbul to Jakarta to Chicago, and the entire room is angled toward the same unseen point.
Does that sound familiar? It should, because humans have been doing versions of this for a very long time. Ancient Egyptian temples were aligned with solstice sunrises. Christian churches were traditionally built facing east, toward Jerusalem and the rising sun. Hindu temples often follow precise directional axes tied to cosmology. Humans, across nearly every culture and era, keep doing the same thing, turning shared physical space into shared spiritual direction. But the scale of the Qibla is where it becomes something different.
This isn't a temple built once, facing one direction. It's a live, ongoing act, repeated 5 times daily, recalculated constantly as people travel, move cities, board airplanes. Modern prayer apps use GPS and geodesic calculations to instantly tell a Muslim in a hotel room in Bangkok exactly which wall to face. That number is often surprisingly counterintuitive. From much of North America, the shortest path to Mecca doesn't point southeast, the way a flat map might suggest. It points northeast, up over the Arctic. Because Earth is a sphere, not a rectangle, and the shortest line between 2 points curves with the planet.
That single fact breaks people's intuition constantly. You look at a world map, assume the straight line, and get it completely wrong. The real answer only makes sense once you stop imagining Earth as flat paper and start imagining it as what it actually is, a globe. So why does any of this matter to you, even if you're not Muslim? Because it reveals something about how meaning and orientation work in the human mind. Researchers studying ritual behavior, including work referenced by anthropologist Roy Rappaport on the function of religious ritual, have argued that shared physical orientation, doing the same motion, facing the same direction at the same time as other people, creates a powerful sense of collective identity. It's not just belief, it's the body itself sinking to something outside it.
You've felt a smaller version of this, standing in a stadium during a national anthem, everyone facing the same flag, everyone still for one shared moment. That feeling of being part of something larger than your own individual position in space. Now, multiply that by 5 times a day, every single day, across every time zone on Earth, and you start to understand why the Qibla isn't just a technical detail of Islamic practice. It's one of the largest ongoing exercises in synchronized human orientation that has ever existed. And it started with a single, quiet redirection, from one holy city to another, from Jerusalem to Mecca. A change that could have been a footnote in religious history, but instead became the anchor point for centuries of scientific advancement, architectural design, and daily ritual for nearly a quarter of the world's population.
So the next time you see someone praying, facing a direction that might look arbitrary to you, remember what's actually happening. It's not arbitrary at all. It's the end result of over 1,000 years of mathematics, astronomy, and geography distilled into a single silent gesture. A body turning toward a point on Earth that many people praying toward it will never physically see in their lifetime. And somewhere, right now, that same direction is being calculated again. Not by a scholar with a brass astrolabe this time, but by a phone in someone's pocket, quietly doing the same spherical trigonometry al-biruni was doing by hand 1,000 years ago. Same question, same destination, just a faster way of finding the answer.
Because in the end, the real answer was never just about which way is Mecca. It was about what happens when 1 billion people decide to face the same direction at the same time, and just how much of human history got built trying to answer that one deceptively simple question.